first thing I did when I returned to Egypt was to go to Heliopolis, because when you land at the airport, it's kind of on the way to where I was going. And so I'd meant to go many times before, but this time I thought, well, when we get picked up at the airport, we'll just go via Heliopolis, because I want to see what's left. Is there anything at all left in Heliopolis of the ancient city? It was surprisingly a long way, and through what I'd call suburban areas with lots of apartments and lots of shops and lots of traffic. But eventually we reached Heliopolis. I'm not really sure what I was expecting, but it certainly wasn't this. And this is certainly not what was there. But this is just a model of what it might have looked like at one stage. But the only indication I saw of Heliopolis as we were driving towards it was the obelisk sticking out. So I head in that general direction and go through the main gates and look for the ticket office. And of course, at the ticket office, I was greeted by an exceptionally attractive ticket salesperson, or should I say ticket sales cat, who was doing a wonderful job of preparing people for going onto the site. So once I had purchased the tickets, I went on in, and of course I just headed straight down towards the obelisk, stopping along the way to have a look at all the various amazing statues and artifacts that were there. It says on one of the information boards, Heliopolis was one of the first and most important temple sites in ancient Egypt. According to mythology, it was the site of creation, sacred to Atum and the god Ra or Re. The earliest inscriptions found in Heliopolis date back to the time of Djoser. So if you remember, he's the guy who theoretically built the step pyramid at Saqqara, and he predated the building of the Great Pyramid, according to classical Egyptological books. And what I mean when I say that Djoser built the step pyramid, what I'm saying is that he ordered his very famous architect, who was also the high priest of Heliopolis, and a guy by the name of Imhotep, obviously very famous, to design it and get it built. So what's left to see of the ancient city of Heliopolis? Well, there's the obelisk of Senuseret the First, and of course bits of the buildings of Thutmose the Third, as well as Ramses the Great, of course, can never escape things from Ramses the Great. Also things from Psammetichus the First and Nectanebo the First as well. So there's still plenty to look at, but you can't really get your head around what it might have looked like at one stage unless you look at the models. One of my reasons for wanting to visit here is because it's one of the places that Herodotus wrote about. In fact, he rated it so highly because he said it was the source of all knowledge in Egypt, or something along those lines. And so, he had some pretty good things to say about this place. It is sad that there's not really much to see here, just the odd block and a bit of statues and stuff. But it's interesting that part of the city was taken down and re-erected in Alexandria during the Ptolemaic period. And then, of course, the Romans, they also took off with a few things, including 2 large obelisks, 23 meters or so high, which were erected in Rome. And so it's pretty much been stripped what else was left was mostly used to build buildings in Cairo and around in this area itself. So the obelisk that remains is apparently the oldest surviving obelisk in the world. Oh, and there's two other obelisks that came from this area. They initially moved to Alexandria, and then one went on to live in London, and the other went on to live in New York. And they are commonly referred to as Cleopatra's Needles, but this is where they originally came from, and they honestly had nothing to do with Cleopatra at all. The name Heliopolis is clearly a Latinized name of the city, so I think the name means something like the City of the Sun, but its original name was certainly not like that. I will attempt to say it. So from my perspective, I believe the name was something along the lines of Anu, as in like Anunnaki, but without the Naki. But that's the name, and yeah. The walkway of the headless sphinxes. Another one over there, more over there. And finally, these are all the artifacts that I could find that are not in this particular open-air museum, as I might call it, but actually in museums around the world, but originated here in the ancient city of Heliopolis.